Banorte, one of Mexico's biggest banks, has acquired Afore Bancomer. This makes it the largest pension fund manager in the country and the third largest in Latin America. Here to discuss the bank's continued expansion is David Suarez, Head of Investor Relations at Banorte Grupo Financiero. David, welcome.
Thank you.
How has this acquisition affected the company as a whole?
Well, that acquisition has been both strategic and transformative. And the reason for that is that the Mexican population is very young. And therefore, there's going to be a lot of young people entering the workforce in the next few years. This business, the Afore, is the one that manages the retirement savings funds. And so therefore, what you're going to see is that the assets that we're going to be managing over the next few years is going to accumulate substantially. It's also transformative because with the acquisition of Afore Bancomer, the Afore becomes one of the most significant subsidiaries of the group. We became a very significant player in the market. We have now 28% of the market share versus 17% of our nearest competitor, which is Banamex. This business is going to continue consolidating because of the way that the fees are charged in terms of assets under management. Right now, the Afores in Mexico manage 12% of GDP in terms of assets. And in the next 6 to 10 years, that's going to more than double. So all of the long-term infrastructure projects and investments that are going to be done in Mexico are going to be done by the Afores, and Banorte is going to be present in all those very significant infrastructure projects.
What has been your strategy for success in Latin America?
Focusing on the Mexican market allows us to have incremental returns because the expansion of credit in Mexico has been significant and it will continue. We are expanding our loan book, even under a very tough economic environment right now, more than 10%, and we are expecting it to expand to levels of close to 20% as the economy improves, which we're expecting that to happen next year. So overall, being in Mexico has allowed us to become a much larger bank. In terms of other elements, well, we have been able to expand organically substantially. Our retail network has expanded to become the third largest in Mexico. And actually in ATMs and POSs, we are the second largest in the country. The other thing is that in the business segments, we have done acquisitions like the one that we discussed previously. That has also been a key ingredient of our success. The other one is, as I mentioned at the beginning, being local has allowed us to take decisions in Mexico, which is not the case with some of our international competitors. So those have been the main elements of our success.
How has volatility in international financial markets affected your operations?
On the wholesale banking unit, we've been able to defend ourselves. And actually right now in Mexico, the interest rates have been coming down. They just came down last Friday, and there's a possibility of an additional rate cut in October. So the Mexican yield curve is shifting, and there's a lot of value now in the securities positions that we have. So the impact was short-lived and was not very significant. In terms of our retail operations, nothing has happened, and that's because we, as I mentioned, are a local player. We continue to grow our consumer loan book significantly, and we haven't seen any of our clients retrench because of this volatility. As you know, Mexico is very linked to the U.S., to all of the export cycle to the U.S., and the U.S. economy is doing well. So as long as the U.S. economy does well, Mexico has the possibility to expand its GDP. So therefore, the type of volatility that you've seen in foreign exchange in countries in other parts of the world initially happened in Mexico, but now it's been much more calm in the markets because people are now realizing that even though Mexico is an emerging market, we're very linked to the U.S. cycle, and they're positive about that.
And what moves are you making towards greater financial inclusion?
We have a lot of contact points with the telecom telegraph company in Mexico that has more than 1,500 offices. In some cases, in municipalities where there's no banking presence. And we've also done agreements with 7-Eleven, with extra stores that are also very significant small retailers in Mexico, in order to be able to open deposit accounts and also so that people can transact and not go to the branch. Right now, what we're doing is we're also working with the Mexican public markets, especially in Mexico City. And people there are very excited because now they're seeing that a lot of their clients that used to go to large retailers because they were the ones that accepted this means of payments, credit cards and debit cards. Now they're coming back to the public markets, and the public markets in Mexico are part of the community. We've also done many things in terms of financial education. We participate very thoroughly in Mexico's Financial Education Week. And additionally, we have basic products, entry-level products like a credit or a debit card, where people can have a basic product that basically doesn't charge any fees. So they're not money maker for us, but we know that as people start using them and they progress throughout their lives, they're going to start using more sophisticated products. So we have all of those initiatives. Plus, of course, we have many others. But in the end, what Banorte is trying to do is that we're trying to get more people into the formal financial system.
How significant is good corporate governance to a company like yours?
Well, Banorte is now the most public company in Mexico. We have 90% of our shares floated in the Mexican Stock Exchange, and we don't have a majority shareholder. And so we have made a lot of advances in terms of adopting the best international practices in corporate governance. Right now, our board, if you look at the composition, 67% of the board is independent. That is not only unique for Mexican companies, but it's also unique to if you compare that to many companies in developed countries. We also have more than 50 committees that support the board in its functions. We also have been making strides in terms of developing the protection of minority shareholders' rights. So for us, corporate governance is a rule. We need to continue advancing. We know that we still have a lot of challenges. We have adopted, of course, all of the disclosure requirements of the Mexican regulator, and we follow that strictly. But we also know that many of our investors and many of our shareholders are asking for more thorough information on all of our daily operations. So we are going to continue advancing in terms of modernizing all of our disclosure, our transparency policies. And additionally, we're going to continue trying to run the firm more professionally.
And finally, how do you envisage the future for Banorte?
Banorte recently, just this past month of July, carried out an equity offering. We were able to, under very tough market conditions, we were able to obtain $2.5 billion of equity that will allow us to grow into the future. And so therefore, we now have the elements and the ingredients to be able to grow in the business segments that we're trying to attack, mainly consumer products, which are the ones that consume more capital and which are the ones that we're focusing on. We're also undergoing a major transformation with an alliance that we've done recently with IBM. We are going to overhaul all of our IT, all of our processes, and through that, what we're trying to do is become a more client-centric institution. So what we're trying to do, and this is how we envisage Banorte, is becoming a much more efficient bank, because we're going to have more automation, a quicker response to our clients. And also we see ourselves as a bank that is going to be more attentive to our clients' needs. And therefore, if you combine that efficiency and much better client service, we're going to be a much more profitable bank.
David, thank you.
Thank you very much.